I used to laugh at horror stories online. People talking about haunted apartments, mysterious neighbors, or stuff moving on its own. I always thought, it's just bad plumbing, or they're sleep deprived. People exaggerate. Until I became one of those stories. Last year, I moved to Connecticut for a freelance editing gig. The project was long-term, so I figured I'd rent something quiet. Somewhere I could focus. I found a listing for a small basement apartment just outside of Hartford. The photos were okay, not great, a little outdated, but the rent was cheap and the place looked clean. The landlord lived upstairs. When I met him, he was friendly but a little off, probably late 60s, polite, asked barely any questions. As he handed me the keys, he said something weird. "It's good to have someone down there. Keeps the place warm." I laughed awkwardly. Thought maybe he meant it in a friendly way, like people coming and going, energy in the house. But now, I think he meant it a lot more literally. The apartment itself was fine. Small kitchen, carpeted living area, one bedroom. No natural light, but it had decent lamps and fast internet. It smelled old, but not in a gross way. More like a library no one's visited in years. The first few days were peaceful. I worked from my laptop, made coffee, and went on walks in the neighborhood. I'd hear occasional creaks from above. Typical old house sounds, nothing weird. But by the end of the first week, something started to feel off. Every night, around 2 a.m., I'd hear the same thing. Footsteps. Upstairs. Back and forth. Back and forth. Not just a couple, like someone forgot something in another room. Pacing. Constant. For hours. At first, I assumed the guy was just restless. Maybe he had insomnia. Maybe he was one of those late-night walkers. But the pattern was too specific. It was like he was walking the same path over and over. Same rhythm. Same slow, dragging pace. And the strangest part? It only started after I turned off my lights. Like he was waiting. Always after 2 a.m. Same pattern, same steps, same slow pacing across the floor above me. At first, I told myself it was nothing. People have weird sleep cycles. Maybe the guy's a night owl. Maybe he watches TV standing up. But it started happening every night. And it wasn't just footsteps anymore. Some nights, I'd hear this low scraping sound. Like furniture being dragged across hardwood, slowly. Like someone was rearranging the room, but doing it in slow motion. At first, it was random, but I noticed something. If I stayed up late, he stayed up longer. If I shut the lights off early, the footsteps started sooner. It was like he was matching me, or waiting for me. A few days later, I ran into him out front, near the mailbox. It was broad daylight, sunny, felt safe. I made a light joke. "Hey, I think your floorboards are getting more exercise than I am." Tried to laugh it off, but he didn't laugh, didn't even smile. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "I don't sleep much." Then he walked away. Not another word, just turned and left. That night, the dragging sound came back. Only this time, it was louder and closer. I was sitting at my desk editing a manuscript, around 2:15 a.m., and suddenly, this deep, slow sound directly above me, like a heavy chair or table being pushed, pulled back, then pushed again, right over where I was sitting. I paused everything, took my headphones off, sat still. It went on for 30 straight minutes. No footsteps, no other sounds, just dragging, back and forth, back and forth. I texted him, "Hey, is everything okay up there? Sounds like something heavy moving." No response. I waited a few minutes. Nothing. That's when I decided to record it. I grabbed my phone and placed it near the ceiling vent, the biggest one, in the bedroom. I set the recorder to run from midnight to 5 a.m. and left it there while I tried to sleep. But I couldn't. Every creak in the pipes felt louder. Every shadow felt heavier. I finally passed out sometime after 4. In the morning, I played the audio back. At first, it was just soft ambient noise, room tone, light wind outside. Then, around 2:14 a.m., the footsteps start. Same slow pace, back and forth, just like I'd heard. At 2:38, the dragging sound starts, sharp, metallic, like a heavy object grinding across an old wooden floor. Then around 3:40, 3 knocks, clear, direct, right on the vent. I sat up straight, rewound, played it again. 3 solid knocks. Then silence. And a few seconds later, a voice. Not loud, not clear, just barely there, like it was breathing through the vent. I cranked the volume up, listened again, and I heard it. "Still awake?" Not a question shouted from another room, not a neighbor's TV. It was right next to the mic, soft, intentional, like someone was standing on the other side of the vent, whispering to me. I deleted the recording. I didn't want to hear it again. It wasn't just the whisper. It was how casual it sounded, like it wasn't a threat, like it was someone checking in. That night, I double-checked every lock, front door, windows, even the closet. Then I shoved a chair under the doorknob for good measure. Still, 2 nights later, I woke up around 3 a.m. to this feeling. You know the one, like someone's watching you. The room was cold, quieter than usual, and my front door was cracked open. Not fully open, just an inch, but I knew I'd locked it. I remembered putting the chair under the knob, and yet, there it was. The chair was gently pushed aside, like it had been moved carefully. I looked around the room. Everything felt off. Then I noticed my desk chair. It wasn't where I left it. Just a few inches away from the desk, turned slightly, like someone had sat there, watched me sleep, and stood up quietly. I didn't even sleep the rest of that night. Just sat in the corner of the room with the lights on. Didn't blink, barely breathed. Next morning, I went straight to the hardware store and bought a brand new deadbolt. Drilled it in myself, tested it a dozen times. That night, nothing. No footsteps, no dragging, just silence. It was the first peaceful night I'd had since I moved in. Until the next morning. I stepped outside to grab a coffee, and when I opened the door, I found a note. No envelope, just a single sheet of paper folded once, slipped under the door. One sentence. "I don't like that lock. You shouldn't lock me out." The handwriting was small, neat, too neat, almost like it was written slowly, like they took their time. That was the last straw. I started staying in cheap motels, 2 or 3 nights a week, just to clear my head. But when I came back, the apartment was clean. Too clean. Trash taken out, dishes washed and stacked, my clothes folded. One time the bed was made so perfectly it looked like a hotel room. I never told anyone I was gone. No delivery orders, no cleaning services. And yet someone had been inside. Not to rob me, to take care of the place. Like they lived there too. That's when I got desperate. I spent a few hours online trying to dig up anything. Building complaints, weird reports, reviews. Anything that might explain this. Finally, I found a name. One of the previous tenants had left a review on some buried rental site. No real warning, just a short comment. Weird vibes, bad sleep, moved out early. I tracked him down on LinkedIn, sent him a message. He replied within minutes. All he wrote was, "Leave, don't wait." No details, no questions, just that. I didn't even finish the lease. I packed what I could carry. I didn't even bother asking for my deposit back. When I handed the key to the landlord, he smiled. Not friendly, not fake, a real smile. Like he knew something I didn't. He looked at me and said, "You stayed longer than most." That sentence hit me harder than anything else. Now I live in a small apartment in the city. Top floor, brick walls. I made sure there's no one above me. I can hear traffic all night, people yelling in the streets. And for once, I don't mind the noise.